Today, I would like to talk about the transition between RStudio and Positron and the ways in which you can make it less painful and more productive. This talk is for you if you are curious about Positron or maybe you're already using it, but you still feel that RStudio is the IDE where you feel most comfortable, most productive. So the situation that led to this talk is that I've been using RStudio for a long time and I really like it. But I've also been hearing great things about Positron, so I got curious and wanted to try. In particular, I heard that the design of Positron has been strongly influenced by the design of RStudio. So definitely something that I wanted to try. We can see these similarities when we see the two IDEs side by side. And that made me think that the transition would be pretty smooth, maybe just like switching from a good old car that I've been driving for many years to another car that is not exactly the same, but similar enough to not represent much of a challenge. However, many times I felt that the transition was much bigger, maybe like jumping from an automatic car to a manual stick for the first time. A lot of the things that I was used to doing without thinking in RStudio now started taking some effort. So there were some frictions, some pains. And I reflected on those pains and the approaches that one can take when uptaking a new tool. So typically, I would jump heads first into a new tool and accept that there is going to be some pain, push through the pain, and eventually you become used to your new tool and you feel productive again. However, that may not work for you sometimes, particularly if you are close to a release of something and you need to get stuff done. So in that case, maybe there is an alternative approach that is the one that I would like to advertise today. This idea of starting your transition before you even jump to Positron. So there are some things, some tweaks to your workflow that you can do that will prepare you for Positron later. So here are three things that are working well for me, and I hope that some of that helps you too. First tweak is to use the commands palette more. What is this? It's this text-based interface to running commands that exists both in RStudio and in Positron. So you pop it up in the two IDEs with the same keyword shortcut, Command-Shift-P or Control-Shift-P. And it allows you to be independent of the RStudio specific ways of doing things. So you you learn how to operate in a productive way without depending on things that exist only in RStudio. A bonus here is that you will be more aware of the names of the commands that you want to run so that you try to find equivalent commands in Positron later. Tweak number two, use the terminal more. So what is this about? Is, well, the idea of being able to communicate to your computer in the most direct way possible. You simply need a terminal, which is not only in RStudio and also in Positron, but also everywhere else, even in remote servers that do not have a graphical user interface. You can still access the terminal and get a lot of stuff done. So that again will, as a goal, that allows you to become independent, not just from RStudio, but from IDEs in general. And tweak number three, use AI agents, particularly those that come with a command line interface. What is this? Well, it's a way to modify your source code through AI, not by doing it yourself, but instead by giving directions to a model with simply your natural human language. So the goal here is, again, because you need only the terminal, you become independent from IDEs, and also, in part, you become independent from programming language because the instructions are in natural language. And this is certainly a skill that takes time to develop and may come with its own frustrations, but it's also something that it's really good trying. Because if you do that well, the idea of learning how to tell AIs to do what you want, then you no longer need to sit on the driver's seat. And instead, it's going to feel as if you had your own driver that if you give them the right directions, will take you wherever you want to go. And that I think is pretty cool. Thank you.